it's been a couple of years now, well, nearly a year and a half since the debut record came out from Low Island. I found it absolutely glorious and enjoyed walking my dog to it a lot, actually. It was quite the tonic if you could have it all again. And now we are ready for album two. How are you doing, Carlos?
We are great. You're talking to me from our studio in Oxford. We're all here. We're rehearsing for a launch party show that we're doing on Friday, and then also like some in stores that we're doing, and also actually for a session we're doing for you guys as well.
Honestly, you are busy, busy, but as you know, it's not been that long. Like your debut came out April 2021. We're now what? Just into November 2022. That's relatively fast on the album cycle, isn't it?
It is, and I think the reason that we kind of went for it was because we were enjoying playing live so much, and I guess what you call in the industry being in cycle. We were enjoying it, and we didn't want it to stop. And also, it's this weird thing in the music industry as well that, like, if you do want to keep playing live, no matter how big your catalog, you got to keep releasing new music. Everyone's always like, "Where's the new music?" And I think one of the main motivations for doing it so quickly was we wanted to kind of keep playing and keep playing live, but also that I had after the first record came out, I was very lucky to be able to go to Mexico with my girlfriend for like 2 months and started writing some music there. And when I came back, some of those ideas were the starting point for then us all to go, okay, actually, we can start building a new record already. And then ideas started coming in from all over the place. And now we are here with another album. Right.
Before we get into talking about life in miniature, you've been touring so much though, relentlessly, like Europe, massive like shows with Hot Chip. I've always seen you as an incredible live outfit. You've always been really energetic and engaging, but has this made the difference for you, like in terms of confidence as well, getting these opportunities?
I think it's definitely made us more confident. That made us very kind of, you know, we're pretty well oiled now in all situations. So like, we nothing surprises us, which is quite, actually I think is a really important thing for a band. Like when we played a show in Vienna with the last band on the stage, and it was the Warner Showcase. It was one of those showcase festivals, and they had a compare. And after the final Warner act came on, just before we were going to come on, she goes, "That was our final act for the evening," and she like cleared, half the audience. So it's really good to be in this situation now where we are prepared for like anything that happens. Like someone just kind of clearing the room. We're like, yeah, we've experienced that. We know what it feels like. So I think, there's been a real breadth of experience across the shows. Good stuff has happened as well, by the way. But was one thing that springs to mind.
I mean, you've overcome so much in the music industry, had to take things into your own hands, get funding to put the debut album back, like out there. And you know what? The music sounds stronger than ever. I feel like sometimes I'm just like, people are going to wake up and you are going to be in a stadium like within a handful of weeks. I can just see it coming. Does it feel like things are rising and things are kind of getting there for you right now?
It's a weird one. It's like, you always you feel like you're moving forward all the time, but then there's always, it's often one step forward, two steps back. And in a way, the more that you're putting the band forward for, the more there is also to be turned down from, if that makes sense. So like it's quite difficult to tell from the inside in a way. There are obviously things that like, where you really feel like you're moving forward, like the size of the crowds and stuff. That's when you really feel like, oh, we've made some real progress here. Like when we did the European tour and we played to some full rooms across Europe, that was a really cool feeling because we really didn't know whether those crowds were going to be there. So yeah, it's a mixed picture, and from the inside sometimes difficult to tell, but the live stuff has moved forward a lot, and I think we've all felt that, and that's been really positive for all of us. And like I say, we just want to keep playing as much as possible because that's where we really feel like the band comes into its own.
And you're still in Oxford, and we talked about this before, but the Oxford scene is always really. It's always full of talent. I mean, there's so many brilliant bands, obviously, from Oxford over the years. Radiohead, Glass Animals, Foals. Oh, I could list so many. Is it still as supportive as when you first started out?
Definitely. I mean, actually, like last night, Felix and I recorded something for BBC introducing in Oxford, like a BBC introducing live conversation about self-managing and self-releasing and stuff, which they asked us to do very kindly. So, and the record's been reviewed in the local magazine Night Shift. So, the local scene is still going. The same players are there. We've lost some venues, sadly, but I think the scene is still vibrant and still very, very supportive, which is, it means a lot to bands, and it means a lot to us.
So, Life in Miniature. Firstly, why that title?
Mm. So the title is basically, I mean, the whole record looks back over a really sort of turbulent 3 years, and lots of big change. It's not necessarily a pandemic record, but it does look over those kind of pandemic years where big changes happened, and they happened faster than they would have happened otherwise. In my case, I left home. I lost some loved ones close to me who I think, would have lasted longer had there not have been a pandemic. And I also fell in love. And so, and it felt like all of those changes constituted almost a lifetime. It was enough to be a life. So the record is like this time capsule, this snapshot of that period. And that's why Life in Miniature came to mind. It was one of those terms as well. I remember saying it to the band and we were like, someone's already got to have used that. And actually, I don't think there was anything that was called Life in Miniature. Oh, there's a little documentary about miniature paintings apparently called Life in Miniature. Apart from that, it was a title that hadn't been used. And it's rare that you kind of come across those things where it feels like it already existed. So yeah, that's how it came about. And it's complemented or supported by this lovely artwork on the front cover by someone called Mariko Kusumoto, who's based, I think, in Boston, who makes these incredible miniature sculpture, kind of like hand woven out of like nylon and things, like little kind of marine like sculpture. And she's amazing, and she very kindly let us use some of her images for the record. These small little worlds. So yeah, it's come together really nicely, I think.
Absolutely stunning on the front and the back. So the vinyl must look absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, well, you say that. We're waiting for it to arrive, so we hope so.
Ah.
Supposed to arrive. It was supposed to arrive yesterday. Um, so yeah,
To the
watch
wire. To
watch
the
this space.
wire.
Oh yeah, it's coming. It's coming from Newcastle. Actually, we used a plant in Newcastle.
Ah.
So it's coming from up north. Oh, but it's not arrived yet, but it will.
Yeah, the vinyl pressing issues continue then.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You talk there about obviously the changes that have happened in your life over the last 3 years, and I did dip in and have a listen to the album earlier on, and you know what, we've heard and played Robin of late, and obviously I've read that's kind of named after your late grandfather, isn't it?
That's
And
right.
it
Yeah.
includes some really powerful audio in there. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So when just after he died, the family was clearing out his house, trying to, and everyone, it's a very weird moment. Everyone sort of starts taking things, rightly so, but it's a very strange moment when a house gets cleared of all the things in it. And there was this one tape that I knew was there at the bottom of a chest of drawers, which had a recording of my great aunt singing a song accompanied by uh, my great grandmother singing a song accompanied by my great aunt on the piano. And it was not like a song that you couldn't get on Spotify. I don't think it was, circulated or released or anything. It was just like a recording from the 30s that he had. And so I found that, we sampled it and put it, and you can hear it at the beginning and the end of the record. And then there's also, he had a piano which is now in my studio, and we also sample that. And I guess what I like about doing all of that stuff is that the album is built out of lots of different memories, and is inspired a lot by memory in general, and how non-linear memory is. And it's just kind of memory are all of these little fragments that we build together, that constitute who we are. And it's nice to have all these little things that don't necessarily connect. For example, like the recording, my great grandmother is not my grandfather's mother, but my grandmother's mother. The piano is my grandfather's. Some of the words and the lyrics are his words, but together they are kind of my whole memory of my family, my grandfather. And I like how that kind of comes together in that track and captures a lot of the spirit of the album.
Are there any tracks on the album that are exceptionally special to you, other than the one that we just discussed? Because I know we've heard quite a few that you've sent our way on Amazing Radio that we've been playing.
And thank you for playing them very much. We, I think Robin is definitely one of the most special ones. We all of us really love the first track, which is called Goodbye Bluefin. I think because it was one of those tracks that we jammed together all in the room, and you can hear at the beginning, like actually a little snippet of, I think, one of the first rehearsals and someone counting it in. And I think they're just, there's those tracks where there's a real kind of togetherness and spirit of the band, and Goodbye Bluefin is one of those.
I love it when you keep those little elements in, though, because it doesn't need to be like, perfect. You want to feel like you're there, when you're in the room with the recording almost.
Yeah, there's another moment on a song called Come a Long Way where we'd recorded a little bit of the album in a house in France, and the fridge made, when you leave a fridge open for too long and it makes a little tone, the tone was exactly the same as one of the melodies in the song by complete coincidence. So if you listen really carefully, at some point, 041, Jesus Christ, he knows it exactly off the top of his head. If you listen to at 041 to Come a Long Way when the album comes out, you will hear the little tone of a fridge, from the studio that we recorded it in. Well, the house.
I will listen out for it. And you worked on the album with Tom Archer as well, who's worked with the likes of Slow Tie and Little Sims. How was that as an experience?
Tom is one of those guys who we met very recently, but immediately it was like we'd known him forever, for the good and the bad. No, Tom is fantastic, and I think what was really nice for us is that we, in the previous record, we'd done everything ourselves, engineered it, produced it, everything. And what Tom allowed was for everyone to take a step back and look at things a bit more objectively, and also just brought some great craft, into the mix. He obviously knows so much about recording music and mixing it as well. So he brought so much to the record, and also just a great spirit, and he's a lot of fun. So yeah, and that's really important when you're making an album.
I mean, you are so diligent, so organized, so hardworking. It's very DIY spirit through and through. What are your biggest tips to artists who want to self-release or want to progress as you have?
Focus as much as you can on the music first. Get, Felix and I were talking about this yesterday, don't jump the gun. Get focus on the music first. Get it as good as you can. Be as happy with it as you can. Enjoy the process, and then don't be afraid to look for advice. And don't underestimate Google. I know it sounds like a silly thing to say, but you really can find out about so much and so many opportunities just through like searching the internet. And I mean, we've had some things come through recently where we literally just kind of, Googled stuff and got the email addresses and sent emails and pitched for them, and then they happened. So it's like believe in the power of just kind of like researching stuff, asking questions, and yeah, really focus on the music.
Brilliant. Yeah. I say similar to myself to my students when I'm lecturing.
Great.
So the album is out this week. There are going to be some tour dates early next year, right?
Exactly right. So we are doing a small UK tour. We wish it could be bigger, but it's a focused UK tour, in with dates in London, at Lafayette, in Manchester, and yes, the Pink Room, in Bristol, Strange Brew, Brighton Patterns, and Birmingham Hare and Hounds. And we're also going to announce a Cardiff date as well at Club E4 Buck, because we were supposed to play Swoon, but pulled out because I was ill. I had the Rona. So we've got those dates coming up, which are really exciting, and hopefully more. But that's where we're starting off, and yeah, we can't wait to play some of this record live. We've been rehearsing today, and it's playing new songs as a band. It's just always really invigorates the band and the live show. So yeah, it's going to be great.
Will there be many of the old tracks in there as well, or have you got to be super slick and quick?
We haven't figured out the set list yet. That's always difficult. And our catalog, believe it or not, is growing. It's pretty big now. So it's difficult working out the set list, but we'll work it out. And hopefully not fall out over it.
Please play Having the Greatest Time.
that that is that is going to be there 100%. And we've also tagged on this great little outro jam thing to the end of it, which is really keeping it in the set list. So
This is what I love about you live though. There's a structure to it, but you do kind of not lose control, but you're pretty fluid in how you can kind of like jazz it out, style it out. You know what I mean? You're quite fluid with it.
yeah, I think that's important to kind of keep. It's important for us to keep things feeling fresh, you know. So it's like when you come and play um a tour, coming to do a tour again, you want to feel like it's new for us, you know, rather than we're just doing the same thing again. And I know a lot of artists feel like that. It's like you don't just want to feel like you're just rehashing the same stuff over and over again. So it's like, how can you breathe life into old tracks? And that often is like, you know, adding a jam onto the end, or changing the structure a little bit, or whatever it is. You know, it's important to keep things feeling new.